Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. Marek, some news from Russia involving the e-commerce behemoth Alibaba and its logistics network Cainiao, which I'm still not sure if I'm actually pronouncing correct. Cainiao? I don't know.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. I have an even bigger problem spelling it, actually.
Well, there are all these A's and I's. Comment below if somebody can tell us actually how to pronounce it, please, because I have a feeling we're going to be pronouncing it a lot more over the coming months. Now, in Russia, Cainiao, announced back in October that they would be building out their parcel locker network. And now they've announced that they're launching a program, an incentive program for small business owners in Russia to install those parcel lockers or become pickup points for Cainiao. And Cainiao is allocating over 700 million rubles. I've no idea what that is in euros or dollars, anybody. But basically, there's this incentive to get the lockers or PUDO points installed in these small businesses around Russia. Marek, Cainiao is getting pretty serious about this.
I think they are, and I think it's a really cool move. In Western Europe at the moment, there's not too much of a challenge to place lockers. In fact, it's moved from the stage where you had to pay retail outlets to have a locker in place to the point where actually sometimes retail outlets are paying because they really want a locker. I think Russia's a little bit behind on that, and that's why it's quite an interesting move to get people to agree to put the locker in. And what I really like about the promotion is that apparently you get a voucher which you can then use in the store. So it's going to kickstart the concept that footfall to the locker will actually lead to direct retail sales.
So with the PUDOs, yeah, this idea is, and I think it's focused probably more on the PUDOs than the lockers, having reread the article. But the idea is that the retail, so the host retailer can also, as Marek just said, offer a voucher to customers who come in to collect their Cainiao purchase. Now, we've talked about these sorts of incentives before, but I just want to share an interesting statistic here. It says that Cainiao delivers more than 90% of all AliExpress orders around the world, 25% of which are in the Russian market. Now, that's not insignificant. So if that means that Russia is a really important market for the Chinese, and hence the focus on this. Now, why do you reckon?
If I could just jump in. So basically for Alibaba, Russia is like the UK is for Amazon.
Right.
So, hugely important international market is the UK. Because of, I would say, cultural ties and, should we say, close political relations, it's much easier for the Chinese to do stuff in Russia. And it's effectively their bridgehead on the borders of the European Union, as it were.
Now, let's just talk...
Oh, interestingly, by the way...
Yes, go on.
UK, it's going to be the same thing, isn't it, on the borders of the European Union?
Well, comment below, everybody. Let us know what you think about that. Comment from Marek. So when we talk about this being such an important market for AliExpress and all of that, why is this focus now? Why are they focusing now on PUDOs and lockers or out-of-home delivery in the Russian market? What's driving this?
I think, Ian, you probably agree. It's the same as everywhere. Capacity on one hand. On the other hand, he who has the infrastructure will win. He who has the software technology and infrastructure will win even more. And there's some pretty smart Russian outfits out there as well. So the Chinese need to get their act together fast.
We've written before for Parcel and Postal Technology International's website about some of the locker developments that are happening in Russia. So there are lockers going in. Some of them are residential parcel lockers, so inside of apartment buildings, and there are other networks as well. And there are partnerships being set up with property developers, if I recall correctly, Marek. So there is a need if they want to get in there and they want to have their own network. Otherwise, they will be forced to partner. Now, is that such a bad thing, though? I mean, if someone like Alibaba is looking at a market as important to them as Russia, would they be looking at partnering as well with, whether it's the Post or one of these other locker networks, or do they have to build their own network if they want to get something happening fast?
I'll give you a consultancy answer there.
Guess what I'm going to say? It depends.
Exactly. It depends, and I think I'm a believer in the sharing economy and partnership, and I think that often it does make a lot of sense, particularly in infrastructure sharing. But guess what? You never share. the software. The software is the secret sauce and it has to be yours.
There's also the other thing is the customer experience, which you sort of touched on there. And you've said previously that in your opinion, Alibaba and the Chinese big e-commerce players aren't offering that same customer experience for their customers outside of China compared to, say, an Amazon customer in Europe or in the USA. Do you think that this move to have more close relationships through its own logistics network and also its last mile network in the form of lockers and PUDOs can help address that issue for Russian customers at least?
I think so. And to be fair to our friends at Ali, there is a big exercise underway to dramatically improve their performance. So I don't know if you've heard about this, but I wonder whether we wrote about it. They have a program for 72-hour delivery anywhere, 24-hour delivery within China. And, that's the first step. And I reckon that probably if it's like UK for the Americans, i.e. Amazon, Russia could be the bridgehead where they develop all these super sexy customer-centric ideas and concepts and then roll it out slowly. And by the way, watch this space. If they're smart, I think they'll do it in Eastern Europe first, where it's still easier, where Amazon doesn't have such a strong foothold.
And just with the time we have left, so I know that Juan Sotalonga is probably hammering away at the keyboard already to send us in some comments on this, given his expertise in China and lockers, etc. But this idea of having a 72-hour fulfillment worldwide, does this really force Alibaba and the likes to have fulfillment centers outside of China? Because there's no way in Europe, for example, that governments and regulators, and in particular at an EU level, are so focused on creating a green economy and reducing emissions. They're not going to say to people, well, sure, if you want to order that USB for €2 from China, you want to have it shipped to you via an aircraft into Europe. That's just ludicrous in terms of carbon emissions for one parcel, because that's a lot. What do you think, Marek? Am I barking?
No, I think you're spot on. And I think there are actually three reasons behind it. One reason is the fact that you cannot get the right customer experience in terms of timing if you don't have some kind of localized stock. The second thing, I can't remember what they call it, this new program where VAT is going to be implemented. That's another reason why it's no longer going to pay for the Chinese to send things apparently below 22 euros or whatever, because there's still going to be clearance. So you might as well send things bulk, have localized stock. So I think that's the second key reason behind it. And the third is that because of what's happened at the UPU in terms of postal prices changing a little bit, it's more your area.
Well, yeah, this is a factor. And we have to also throw in there the Stop Act and Brexit. They're going to make cross-border e-commerce a bit more of a challenge, not as easy for some players as it has been to this point. And there's going to be added cost. If you want to get products into the USA, you need to be compliant with the Stop Act. So that's aimed at China, let's be perfectly honest. And where the USA goes, other countries will follow.
Ian, do you want to enlighten everyone as to what the Stop Act is? Because
if you don't know what the Stop Act is, it means you haven't been listening to my podcast. We haven't got very much time left, but the Stop Act was basically set up by the Trump administration, passed by the US Congress, aimed at reducing the shipping of synthetic drugs, counterfeit goods and the like through the mail into the USA. And it requires a better quality, or indeed the existence of advanced electronic data, which is either called AED or EAD, depending on your language and so on. Now, it's not a new concept having this advanced electronic data, but it's now basically forced all carriers, including the posts, because particularly aimed at the post, because that was the channel that a lot of these counterfeit and synthetic drugs were supposedly coming into the US, was coming from places like China via the post, taking advantage of the low shipping prices as well. So it was sort of a blunt instrument in some respects to clamp down on illicit drugs, synthetic drugs, counterfeit goods being sent through the post. Now, we've come a long way from what we were just talking about, had a nice little conversation about an incentive for PUDOs in Russia to here. But we've got to wrap it up, Marek, because we've run over time again. So, everybody, comment below whether you're interested in the Russian last mile, Cainiao, Stop Act, and all of that. Comment below, share your thoughts. Let us know if we're barking up the wrong tree. Marek Różycki, thanks for being part of the Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone.